Hey there, NHL fans! Now, I know what you're thinking. I look much better in the black and gold, but today we're talking about the Western Conference matchup, so I thought it was only right to wear a jersey from one of my favorite Western Conference teams. Actually, now that I think of it, I could get a little bit of black and gold. Knights hockey. Let's start with the Vegas Golden Knights and the LA Kings. I don't even know where to start when it comes to the Vegas Golden Knights. What an amazing inaugural season they've had. The fact that they even made the playoffs is incredible, and I think they're one of the cup contenders, which is even more incredible. Now, they have quite a bit of depth up front, but they're going to be led by William Karlsson, who has 43 goals and 35 assists in 82 games. Really impressive, especially coming from a guy who had 6 goals in 81 games last season with Columbus. Really big improvement. A really nice player. Joining Karlsson up front will be great players like Marchessault, Smith, the real deal James Neal, who brings some playoff experience. David Perron is injured right now, but when he comes back, he's been a really nice player for them as well. A guy who needs to step it up for Vegas, in my opinion, is Thomas Tatar. They traded a first, a second, and a third to acquire him at the deadline, so he really needs to pick up offensively. On the back end, they have a really nice offensive defenseman who has put in 10 goals and 31 assists. What's his name again? Colin Miller? This is extremely frustrating for a Bruins fan who knows that this guy has a wicked shot, is really fast, can move the puck really well, and we lost him for absolutely nothing in the expansion draft. Now, I realize some guys lost players who are way better, and that might hurt their team more. We made the playoffs, we're fine. We have Charlie McAvoy, Carlo. Our D's going to be fine, but to lose this kind of player for absolutely nothing hurts a little bit. As for the rest of the D, they have some offensive defensemen in Schmidt and Theodore. They have some bigger guys in McNabb and Engelland, so they're going to throw some big hits, and that's going to matter in the playoffs. Pretty solid decor for a new team. And in the cage, Marc-Andre Fleury, an excellent pickup for this Vegas team. He's a great leader, great locker room guy, and he knows how to win a Stanley Cup because he's done it more times than I can even remember. On the other side, you got the LA Kings, led by their captain, Anze Kopitar, who has 35 goals, 57 assists. He's joined by some other solid forwards. Dustin Brown has had a heck of a year. Jeff Carter, Toffoli, Kempe, Iafallo, who's battling an injury right now but should be back. On the back end, of course, you have Drew Doughty, who's going to give you 30 minutes of some solid playoff hockey. Is good from the first minute to the last. Dion Phaneuf, Alec Martinez, and Jake Muzzin, who's day-to-day at the time. And in net, you have an incredible goaltender in Jonathan Quick, who knows what it takes to win a Stanley Cup. The Winnipeg Jets and the Minnesota Wild. For the Winnipeg Jets, you have another former Bruin leading the way, the captain, Blake Wheeler, with 23 goals and 68 assists. You also got the young sniper and Patrick Laine, who finished with 44 goals and 26 assists. Joining those impressive forwards, Scheifele, Ehlers, Connor, and Stastny. In my opinion, the Winnipeg Jets have the best top 6 in the league. It's really impressive. They all know how to put the puck in the back of the net. They play with a lot of speed. They all get back defensively. Really tough to beat a top 6 like that. And on the back end, you got some pretty big boys in Dustin Byfuglien and Tyler Myers. You also have some solid offensive defensemen in Jacob Trouba and Josh Morrissey. And in the cage, you got Connor Hellebuck, who's had an amazing year. He put up 44 wins, which is a franchise record. I was really impressed. I did not expect him to have this kind of season, and he's got to keep up that play if they want to go deep into the playoffs. Now for the forwards of Minnesota. 42 goals for Eric Staal, 34 assists. An impressive year for the veteran, and he's won a cup before, so he can certainly lead this Wild team. There's quite a few impressive players on this team. Granlund, Zucker, Koivu are really talented forwards. Guys who need to step it up, Charlie Coyle and Zach Parise. These are all-star level players who just aren't playing like they can. On the back end, they lost Ryan Suter for the entire year with a fractured fibula. That's a big loss because he's still one of the minutes leaders in the entire league, playing close to 28 minutes a game for this Minnesota Wild team. So pretty much the entire D-corps needs to step it up for Minnesota. Matthew Dumba, Brodin, Spurgeon when he's back from injury, they're talented defensemen, but they're not used to playing big minutes that Suter does. Luckily for the D core, they have Devin Dubnyk, who can help you out if you're struggling a little bit on D. The Nashville Predators and the Colorado Avalanche. Now, I already told you that Winnipeg has the best top 6 in the league, so I'm not going to go ahead and change my answer. But the Predators have the most forward depth in the league, that's for sure. Johansson, Forsberg, and Arvidsson make up a great top line. Then they have Turris, Fiala, Smith, Hartman, Hartnell, Bonino, Fisher, the list goes on, and that is going to be a very tough forward group to defend. Speaking of defense, the top 4 for Nashville is incredible. PK Subban, Roman Josi, Matthias Ekholm, and Ryan Ellis. They can all jump into the play, they can all run your power play, they can all play 30 minutes a game. The bottom D pair for Nashville barely even touches the ice because these guys can play. And in the cage, one of my favorite goalies, who I still think is pretty underrated, even though he's been in the league so long, Pekka Rinne. They also have UC Saros as a backup, so if he goes down, you have 2 number 1 goalies. Let's not forget that this team made it to the finals last year, and they only added to this team. Kyle Turris, Nick Bonino, great additions. They got better and brought back the same quality guys, so they definitely have a chance to lift the cup this season. For the Avs, 2 words, Nathan MacKinnon. 39 goals, 58 assists. It wasn't enough to get me to the finals in fantasy. Is it enough to get them to the finals in real life? He's not doing it entirely alone. He has the captain Gabriel Landeskog and Mikko Rantanen, but that's pretty much it. The other forwards really need to step it up when it's playoff time. Kerfoot, Soderberg, guys like that need to start contributing because the top line isn't going to do it on their own. On the back end, you have Tyson Barrie, who's a really nice offensive defenseman. You got a big, solid defenseman in Zadorov. You have Sam Girard, who is a smaller guy, but is speedy and can jump into the rush. Not the best D-core, but, it can work. The goalie is what would worry me. Bernier. He's had an okay year. Varlamov has went down a couple times already, and Bernier's had to step up. He was in for Anaheim last year in the playoffs, but I just really don't think he's the guy. No matter how much playoff experience he has, whether it's the Maple Leafs from Anaheim and now with the Avs, I really don't think he's that good of a goalie, even though his numbers aren't that bad this year. For our final matchup of the day, we have the Anaheim Ducks and the San Jose Sharks. Anaheim brings the same forward group they always do with Getzlaf, Perry, Kessler, Raquel, Silverberg, but they did add Adam Henrique, which is a solid center for them. Getzlaf and Perry have won the cup before, so they're going to have to show this team what it takes. Oh, and if it happens to be Anaheim and Boston in the final, Ryan Kessler can show you what it takes to lose to Boston. The D-core is pretty solid. They have Montour, Manson, Lindholm. They are without Cam Fowler, though, due to injury. And in the cage, we got good old Gibson, or as some like to call him, Gibby. San Jose is led by their captain, Joe Pavelski, 22 goals, 44 assists. Logan Couture is actually having a really good year, too. He has 34 goals in the season. Evander Kane has been an amazing pickup, big body in front of the net, and I think he's really found his game again with San Jose. They also have Thomas Hertl, and Jumbo Joe is out with an injury. On the back end, you have the always impressive Brent Burns with 12 goals and 55 assists. At one time, he did play forward, so when he's out there, it's like having 4 forwards on the ice. He really helps you out offensively and has turned himself into a solid defensive presence as well, playing around 28 minutes a game. They also have some solid guys like Vlasic Pickles, Dillon, and Braun. And in the cage, you have former Bruin for about 3.5 seconds, Martin Jones. Yep, the West is looking pretty good this season, but Boston will gladly beat any of you in this year's final. Thanks again for watching. Make sure you subscribe so you can be the first to see my playoff content. And if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to give it a like.